If you are not using objective measures to monitor your progress towards your plan, towards your goal, you might as well just walk into the gym blindfolded every day, because you're not going to be able to effectively know whether or not you're making progress. Dalton, again, with Spot Fitness. Before we get into the video, make sure you check out spot-fitness.com for exercise apparel and accessories that you might need. And most importantly, where 50% of net profits are dedicated to exercise science research and education. How cool is that? Today, we are going to be doing a continuation, if you will, on a very prevalent topic, that being gym anxiety or gym intimidation. And I've given you some pretty good tips so far. I talked to you about exposure and the fact that the more you go to the gym, the more comfortable you are going to be with it. And that's the fundamental level, the fundamental operation of overcoming anxiety is simply just exposure to that which you are nervous about. And then secondly, I talked about having a plan when you're at the gym, that knowing the exact exercises, the amount of sets you're going to be doing those exercises, and the amount of reps within those sets that you are going to be doing those exercises can also alleviate anxiety, because you're not walking around the gym wondering what the heck I'm going to be doing. Am I going to use free weights? Am I going to use resistance machines? Am I going to go use the cardio equipment? Am I going to just copy what everybody else is doing in the gym? Then you kind of just become wide-eyed and kind of nervous, and the more experienced people can look at you and kind of know that you don't necessarily know what you're doing, and you might look a little uncomfortable fundamentally. So we want to avoid that by having a plan. But what good is a plan if you're not making any progress within that plan? So a plan is just the start. But really what is most important is the destination that you're trying to get to when you create a plan. So if you're trying to drive to Alaska, the plan starts with getting in your car. That's like step number one. Just like the plan for overcoming gym intimidation is walking into the gym and knowing the exercises that you're going to be doing. But if you just get in your car, after you do that, you have to start the car. Maybe you need to put gas in it. You got to know the directions on how the heck you're going to get to Alaska. You might need your enhanced driver's license or your passport so you can get across the border and drive all the way over to Alaska. There's a lot of steps that need to take place, a lot of progress that needs to be made in order to fulfill your plan of getting to Alaska. And the gym is the same thing. It's great if you know the exercises and the sets and the reps that you are going to be doing when you walk into the gym. But what the heck are you going to do then next time you walked into the gym? What are you going to do the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time? Are you going to keep doing the same workout? You can. That's very effective. I mean, I do essentially the same workout every week, but I still make progress within it because I am applying an objective measure, which we'll get into more shortly, of putting weight on the bar. And I hinted at this idea of your progress being objective, because if you're kind of experienced enough in the gym and you've had enough conversations with people who are exercising, you'll realize that a lot of people measure their progress within fitness subjectively. They're using kind of their own ideas and their own opinions to measure whether or not they are accomplishing their goals. And allow me to provide you an example. So I have a friend, he works out regularly, and he told me, he's like, I'm trying to slim down. I want to lose a little bit of fat for summer. I'm like, all right, sick, dude. Who isn't? Who doesn't want to be shredded and lean during the summer? Dice to the friggin' socks. So, well, how much do you weigh right now? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't know how much you weigh? How are you going to be able to measure progress in order to know whether or not you're losing fat? He goes, I don't know. I don't really weigh myself. I said, well, okay, you can lose fat, but it might be helpful if you weigh yourself. And I checked in with him a couple weeks later, thinking that I had implanted the idea that he might start weighing himself in order to measure his fat loss progress. And I got with him and I said, oh, sweet man, how's it going? I said, yeah, it's going well. I'm doing the fat loss phase. I said, oh, how much weight have you lost? What do you weigh now? He goes, I don't know. And I started to get a little frustrated at this point. I said, dude, how the hell do you not know how much you weigh? He goes, well, I don't weigh myself. And I'm like, well, how the hell do you know whether or not you're losing fat? You said you're making good progress. And he said, well, I look better. I'm like, okay, how you look can be a good measure of the progress that you're making. But I could tell just by interacting with him that he hadn't lost a ton of weight. I mean, maybe at most 2 or 3 pounds, which if you're somebody who has done weight loss before, has lost an appreciable amount of weight, you know that 2 or 3 pounds doesn't necessarily make a drastic impact on how your physique actually looks. If you're lean enough, it can. I mean, if you're already striking distance of single-digit body fat percentage and you lose 2 or 3 pounds, it's definitely noticeable. But if you're a guy that's like 17, 16% body fat and you lose 2, 3 pounds, you might be able to tell from a photo. In all likelihood, probably not if you don't have a trained and experienced eye. And that's why it's so important to apply objective measures when you're trying to rate the amount of progress that you have towards your plan, towards your goals. Measuring progress subjectively, to apply a really cool metaphor that I thought of, is like mowing your lawn when you're blindfolded. Can you mow your lawn blindfolded? You certainly can. You're going to look freaking ridiculous. Everybody who's walking and driving past your house is going to think that this guy is insane, but fundamentally, can you mow your lawn blindfolded? You can. You know, you can put on a blindfold, you can find your way out to your mower, you can take it out of the shed, you can start it, and you can even walk what you believe might be a relatively straight line. But after you start, after that first straight line, you have no idea where you are going. You're going to be zigzagging all over the lawn. You're going to be making curved paths. There's no way you're going to be able to walk straight down and back, which is most efficient for mowing a lawn. It's just fundamentally impossible because you can't see where you're going. This same logic can be applied to making progress in the gym. If you are not using objective measures to monitor your progress towards your plan, towards your goal, you might as well just walk into the gym blindfolded every day because you're not going to be able to effectively know whether or not you're making progress. So how do we do this? How do we measure our progress in the gym objectively? Well, there's many different ways, but I assume that you're probably newer to exercise, to fitness if you're watching this channel. And 2 awesome ways to measure objective progress towards your goals are weight on the bar, number 1. So, how much you're benching, how much you're squatting, how much you're deadlifting, how much is on the chest press machine, how much you're doing for lateral raises or cable push downs, how much weight is on the bar, and how much weight is on the scale. So you, in all likelihood, should be weighing yourself regularly if you have any kind of weight-related goal. Now, it's totally fine to not have a weight-related goal. Maybe you just want to get stronger and you're not necessarily worried about what you weigh while you're getting stronger. That's totally fine. You don't necessarily need to weigh yourself during that, although I am a big fan of people weighing themselves regularly just to keep an idea on like your BMI and also your waist measurement, because those correlate pretty strongly towards like metabolic health and whatnot. But if your goal is weight loss and you're measuring that just by like how you feel, like I feel lighter or I think I look a little bit better, those can work, those can be effective for monitoring progress, but what is way more effective is stepping on the scale a couple times a week. I step on the scale every day just because I like tracking in Excel with a little pivot chart, exactly how much I weigh. I can see the fluctuations every week. And I also do dedicated weight loss and weight gain phases depending on how I want my physique to look. Now, everybody doesn't have those goals, but I do think it's a good idea to step on a scale a couple times a week at the same time of the day so you can track how well you are making progress towards your goal, whatever it may be, gaining weight, losing weight. You want to make sure that you can monitor this process objectively. And when you know what your goals are every time you walk into the gym, or rather you know the progress, the process that you're trying to perform every time you walk into the gym, you know that you have to add weight to the bar because last week you benched 135 and it was pretty easy. You had a couple reps left in the tank. Then put 140 on the bar. Now when you do that, you walk into the gym knowing that you're stronger and you're better than last week. A lot of people, and I was trapped in this for a long time, it's called novice purgatory, where we find some bodybuilding.com workout from some roided out guy whose physique and goals and capacity for resistance training is way different from somebody who's a natural athlete. And it says do like 3 sets of 10 on incline bench. And the program talks absolutely nothing about progression, what you're supposed to do the next week. So, I'd go into the gym. I wasn't very strong at the time, so I'd put 95 pounds or 115 pounds on the bar. I'd bench it, do 3 sets of 10. The next week I'd walk in, perform that same exercise because that's what the program says to do. I'd think, well, okay, I did 115 for 3 sets of 10 last week. I guess I'm just going to do 115 for 3 sets of 10 again. It's just not effective. And that conjured a lot of anxiety within me when I went to the gym because I didn't feel like I was making any progress. I was just going in, I was going through the motions, and it didn't help me. I wasn't motivated to go and work out every day because I'm somebody who likes to make progress. And the only way, or at least for me, the best way of doing that and the best way that I think for others too, is to monitor progress objectively. 2 ways of doing so being weight on the bar and weight on the scale. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Let me know down in the comments, how do you measure progress? It's okay to have some subjective methods, but I am a big proponent of measuring progress objectively. So let me know down in the comments how you do it. Remember to like, subscribe, check out the website. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.